Hi, welcome to the Azure via C# video series. I'm Andrea Angella, and in this video I'd like to show how you can use Azure Queues in order to implement asynchronous messaging between application components using C#. I'm going to create a very simple scenario where you have a client application that creates an Azure Queue and add messages into it, and a server application that read messages from the queue and do some processing. Let's say we just calculate the sum of some numbers. So let's start. So first of all, I have to create a storage account, passing the account name and the account key. As soon as I have that, I can actually go and get a client from using the method create cloud queue client. From the client, I can get queue. And I can use the name of my queue. You can choose the name you want. And then I can use the method create, if not exist, in order to create the queue. Now, I have an Azure Queue ready to use. What I want to do, I want to just do a for and send the first 5 numbers into the queue. And I can use the add message method, and I need to create a cloud queue message. And I can pass an array of bytes or a string. Let's use a string for simplicity. And that's it. So this basically create a queue and add messages into it. If I run this code and I go back to the Azure portal, you can see that I have an Azure via C# storage account. I can click on queues, and you can see the queue here and the 5 messages being added into it. From the Azure portal, I can also clear the queue, for example, and remove all the messages into it, or do other operation like adding messages. Now, let's implement the server. And it's pretty similar, the code. You still have to create a storage account, get a client, create a queue, and now here I do an infinite loop where I want to actually read messages. And let's do that. I can use the queue.getMessage method. So here it's very important to check for null, because the getMessage it returns null if the queue is empty. So we always want to make sure that we don't process empty messages, and we do processing every second. So now we want to get the actual value of the message. This message is a class of type cloud queue message. So let's get the number out of it. We need to do some parsing, and we can get the message as string. And there we go. Now I'm gonna use the method, the variable sum, and I add the number into it, for example. So now I can actually print something to the console to show that it's actually working. Number and sum. Also, there's one very important thing to do, that is removing the message from the queue. When you call the message, the method getMessage, Azure is not actually removing the message from the queue, but is making it invisible for 30 seconds. So it gives you 30 seconds in order to process the message before actually adding it back into the queue. And if this is basically useful if something goes wrong during your processing, so that you can make sure that the actual message is being processed. And you can customize this value if you want. So it's very important at the end of your processing to actually delete the message, passing the message to it. Okay, so let me run the server and see if it works. Start a new instance, and I get waiting for messages, right? So now let me run the code that actually add the messages into the console. And let's go back to the server. Now we can see that we receive the numbers, and we get the sum of those. And then actually stop, because there are no more messages in the queue. And this is pretty much it, and it's very simple to get up to speed using Azure Queues, and they are quite powerful. You can send up to 2,000 messages per second. Every message can be up to 64K in size, and you can store up to 500 terabytes of information inside a queue. And there is a 10 milliseconds average latency for the delivery of the messages. So it's quite powerful and can really help you to decouple your application components in your cloud solutions. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to stay up to date and learn more about Azure and C#, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks.